Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 493 of Geeks in Space, a special After Dark episode. This week, we're watching the 1986 classic sci-fi film, Space Camp. But I couldn't do it alone. No, sir. I have to bring in the assistance of so many great geeks. I got Chris DeBona.
Hi, everybody.
I got Nate Ostendorp.
Rob, I'm going to treat you to a can of oil for making me watch this movie.
Eater. Rob Rozeboom.
Yeah, I don't know why you drugged me into this.
Vengeance for the Fly.
The Fly is nowhere near this bad.
Oh, no, the Fly is good.
Come on.
All right, so round...
Wait. I have to parse this.
Yeah.
So you wanted vengeance for the Fly because we dared bring you a good movie to review?
No, I wanted to go as far... So, okay, I feel like when you're going to watch The Fly, you're kind of getting like a Rob Rozeboom, like a view into the Rob Rozeboom. You know, Rob Rozeboom likes a little bit of scary, a lot of style. You know, he's got good taste. You know, it's a Cronenberg thing. There's some good stuff there. So to bring it back out of vengeance, I thought I would take you guys directly to the epicenter of everything that is Rob Malda.
No, you're better than this, Rob.
Oh, for sure, but I wasn't in 1987.
All right, maybe.
Fair enough.
That might be true.
All right.
And I will say, and I say this with all truth, I say, like, at the core of that thing that we did in the late 90s is a movie like this. This is... Like, this is young Rob falling in love with space and with NASA and with computers and with technology.
And with Lea Thompson and with Kelly Preston.
Also, Lea Thompson. Let's not talk about Tish. We'll say we can save her.
I watched this movie with my kids, and I will say they liked it in a way that they have not liked other 80s classic movies.
How
Like we tried to watch Jurassic Park, didn't play. We've tried to watch a lot of the like 80s classics, and for whatever reason, probably because it's incredibly lowbrow and pandering, Space Camp made it through my age 6 through 13 brood.
Yeah.
Was your 13-year-old as enthusiastic as your 8-year-old? Yeah.
So he has been to Space Camp. That was part of it.
Mm.
And he mocked it a lot, but still actively watched it.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed this. This is the first time I've ever watched Space Camp. I've never seen this movie before. And also, I've never, ever in my entire life had an urge to be an astronaut. It's nothing I've ever wanted to do, ever.
Well,
so...
You know, when I was a kid, I remember wanting to go to space camp, but we weren't able to do it. We weren't, rich like you Midwesterners.
Yeah.
And we also, I had very warm feelings for this movie until I saw it again. And
ouch.
Yeah, so I think I was like Nate's kids. It was like the perfect time to watch Space Camp when I was, because this was 1986.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been 15 and pretty into Lea Thompson.
For sure.
And Kate Capshaw for that. Is that Kate Capshaw? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can see I totally imprinted on these people.
Yeah, no, I kept throwing out, so I watched it with Kat, and I kept throwing out Raiders of the Lost Ark, or not Raiders, Temple of Doom references.
Temple of Doom,
But, because when you talk about, the influential movies of your childhood, those two movies, Space Camp and Temple of Doom, were two that I had on VHS. I'd never had Raiders of the Lost Ark. So like my history is weird, right? I did not have Wrath of Khan, but I did have Search for Spock, and I did not have I had the lesser of all of the trilogies or all of the classics. But man, this movie, it is a part of the Lea Thompson trilogy, along with Back to the Future and Howard the Duck. The three greatest movies, I think, with a girl in them, for 11-year-old me.
Howard the Duck was really bad.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I would pine for Space Camp.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't know. I think Howard the Duck was better than this.
Oh, really? Well, we'll see what happens.
Funnier for sure.
That's true. We'll have to see if any of you has the cojones to call that one for their movie.
So what's really interesting about this is that Howard the Duck is also a 1986 film.
That's true.
So Lea Thompson was basically hopping between this and Howard the Duck simultaneously.
And Back to the Future, man. She was just
Back to the Future. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this was like the peak of her powers.
Yep.
You know?
So the first thing about this movie I think that everybody knows is that it came out, or it was supposed to come out, and then the Challenger kind of blew up. And like this is like
nothing kind of about that.
It's not. It's in the same category, I guess, as when the Lord of the Rings released The Two Towers, and that came out like kind of right after 9/11, and people are like, you have to change the name of The Two Towers.
Although that's not as directly related as this was.
Sure.
I couldn't believe when I read that the director and the studios were like, "Oh no, this will be fun."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No, because it was only 5 months later. They only delayed by like 5 months. I'm like, literally the hearings were going on while this was out.
For
like,
sure,
dude.
So yeah, we get introduced to Andy as a child, and that little monologue for her, every syllable with like every nuance of her inflection was just burned into my heart. I loved it. Because, she's going to go to the moon, but first she's going to marry an astronaut.
Having not seen this before, I was hoping at this point she would throw on a diaper and drive cross country to kidnap her rival. But that didn't happen.
Nope.
That's a different movie.
Totally different movie.
With Natalie Portman in it. But yeah, different movie.
So let's see. We got Tom Skerritt.
Yeah, so I think actually Zen put this one in.
Yep.
Space Camp.
Oh, no.
You promised.
Terrific.
I do find it. I don't have a good sense of what astronauts would have been doing in 1986, but I have to feel like if you were an astronaut in 1986, maybe you would go to space camp for like a meet and greet session, but I feel like you would have something else to do besides babysit. So actually, I feel like she's completely justified here.
I can confirm Space Camp does not have astronauts as the camp counselors.
Really? That's extremely disappointing.
I know. This was actually, I think, a lot of perhaps altruistic but unfair marketing for the Space Camp experience.
Wait a second. Nate, are you saying that you didn't ever board a space shuttle on the pad?
My 13-year-old son did not get to experience a rocket test, a live
live fire exercise.
Live fire exercise inside the spaceship. Much to my chagrin.
And he didn't make friends with a sentient robot while he was there.
Well,
Jesus,
not that he's told me about, because
whoa, spoilers.
Love affair. So,
but he is best friends forever with everybody that he met there.
Well, camp's great, man.
Rob, did
Zen, what were you gonna say?
Oh, the diaper thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the diaper.
You
Okay.
had the Tom
I already
Skerritt.
covered it.
You had a Tom Skerritt note.
Yeah. So I just the whole time I'm
I
watching
did.
this, I'm thinking of Contact.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm like, he was in Contact. He was the sort of the mean senior dude taking all the stuff for himself. So I'm like, but Tom's. So they imply that he was a lunar astronaut in that scene, and I'm like, he didn't walk on the moon. He died on the gantry in Contact. So that's all. Because everyone's in every movie, no matter what. Okay.
Well, for sure. Like we've been
we'll
watching
get to that later with Leaf Phoenix.
Right.
Oh yeah, can't wait to get to that.
Well, okay, so and I guess while we're at it, this is Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right?
And I was
Yeah,
like,
I had to look it up because
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I was like, because like childhood me also had Revenge of the Nerds on VHS tape. So like I should have probably caught that, but I had to look at it now as an adult and was like, oh wait, that's weird that I didn't realize that as a kid.
Yeah.
Probably better that I didn't, because if I had to bring in Lamar's limp-wristed throwing style and Wormser's aerodynamic javelin into Space Camp, it would have been a different thing entirely. Oh,
Man,
that movie
I don't
is...
want to watch Revenge of the Nerds.
That's a whole different thing,
Please
man.
don't do that to us, man.
No, I'm not going to pick it, but somebody else could.
But someone else might.
Sweat.
Do we have to get the cue? Oh, I don't think I had the cue.
My father wants space camp, but I want my head examined. But it was
Oh, there it is. I don't want to play it for too long.
Let's hope so. Yeah. Way would you get your ass?
You got to remember,
it's
this
really
whole
low.
movie is on YouTube.
Oh, so then they could, I mean, ideally we could just run it in the YouTube window then, and just they can have the money, you know, for our 19 page views that we'll have 7 months from now. I just wanted to point out that the music in this movie is actually, there's a lot of good music. It's a John Williams score. There's Eric Clapton.
Totally.
There's Dire Straits. Like, there's good music.
And bad music.
Well, sure.
But expensive music, like
Yeah. Not a penny was spared. Yeah. No, so the only thing I said is that, so he complains that he's parking in his parking spot. So at Ames, anyways, at NASA Ames, the only people who have reserved spots are the site director. So Pete Warden was in charge when I visited, and he has a Pete Warden's parking spot. Everything else, there's some visitor spots and some handicap spots, and that's it. You know, so I'm like, they're not going to give some joker who he went to space. They're not going to give him his own parking spot though.
No, he just gets a Stingray Corvette. That's the...
Well, yeah, they had to get those because if they're
it's the 80s.
right.
What,
It's the
if
80s.
you're cool, what else do you drive?
So, all right, this is the coolest introduction that this character could possibly have, right? Like, just shows up in a plane.
Good entrance. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Forever cementing my permanent love.
Because she has a biplane.
It's the whole package,
Rob likes
man.
weird things.
It's the whole package. And then we get Tish.
So can I tell you something about this character?
Sure.
I want to point something out. I kind of admired where they wanted to go with this. Like they were like, they wanted to upend your expectations. Here's the hot girl with the glitter and the jewelry and the makeup, but then she's secretly like really spot on.
Yep.
Right. So it's like, I kind of like they should have developed her instead of Leah's character, because Leah's character was just
Well, you know, she talks like a Valley girl and is put in charge of communications, which is ironic. Like every stereotyped character in this whole freaking movie. Like I wish they would have spent some money on writing. This is to cinema what the Wire Monkey experiment is to, you know, it just there's nothing surprising in this movie.
Nope.
Everything you think is going to happen absolutely happens. All the characters are exactly who you think they're going to be.
Yeah.
And they're too old. So I looked up the history of the space camp. There was never a 25-year-old space camper. Okay. And like, I mean, so Lea Thompson's 25,
Yep.
Tate Donavon is 23 and Kelly Preston's 21.
Yeah.
They are too old
For sure.
to be there with the Joker and all these other
Rudy was in Revenge of the Nerds 2 years before this, playing a college student. There's some problems with the age for sure.
I mean, they just didn't care, you know.
So Kat's note on this, she points out that everything about Tish is basically Kesha from like 2012. Like her fashion, her like the glitter, all of that. She like it is. You could pull her out and drop her into a Kesha video, and you basically like it would be unaltered, and that's kind of amazing to me.
I think you mean Kesha is Tish.
Thank you, Mr. Rozeboom.
Yeah.
Is Kesha a vampire?
No,
Not as far as anyone knows, I don't think. I mean,
I'm just saying she might be immortal.
I haven't held a mirror up to her face to see if she cast a reflection.
Every time you try, her people stop you.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to get that close anymore.
So I guess it's time to introduce Leaf Phoenix.
Ugh.
Well, so again, in the everyone is who they are in the movie, I like to think of this as the Joker real origin story. So by the time he's in Joker, like he's pretty badly damaged. Little do you know that the backstory for that mental illness is because he got marooned in space. A robot was his best friend. Like, it really is actually very twisted what happened to this kid who's obviously very smart and gifted, but, you know, is completely ruined after this movie.
I kind of think that...
I'd prefer my Scrappy Doo to be animated. Thank you very much. Like,
Jinkies.
They should have just made him an alien and thrown him in here.
Yeah, I
hate
feel
this
like
character so much.
yeah, I think Nate, you're kind of spot on. I think that what happens in the future is that Max and Jinx break up, and between the falling apart of their relationship and the PTSD from this whole thing, this kid peaked early. And the Joker is the inevitable result of that, although clearly set in the 70s, so there's probably like a time loop somewhere, but I'd watch that movie too. Oh, Leaf Phoenix.
Yeah, the only thing I said here was that this is why he changed his name from Leaf to Joaquin on scene, because he's like, I got to distance myself from the shit.
Someday there'll be a database, and I need to not have this listed. It's my first movie.
Yeah, here.
Only $27 million handyman.
Where the hell is that ratchet? In your hand.
It's hilarious. Now, the voice of Jinx was actually the voice of Fred and Scooby-Doo. He has an amazing list of things that he has done. Because that voice, I'm like, I know that voice from someplace. It was some other stupid character who I hated, but that voice sounds familiar. But that guy was like, if you look at all the stuff he's done voiceovers for, it is almost everything. It's amazing how much voiceover work that guy's done.
I just feel like this is, yet another boy and bot romance theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when you wrote that, I wrote her because Joaquin Phoenix was in her, and there was a thing.
I see what you did
so
there.
There you go.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? It's completely unserious. Did you check out the size of his hands?
So, this is a kids movie.
Yep.
They
This is a
don't
kids
say
movie.
anything about penises. They do say the S word a lot, which my wife duly noted during our family viewing of
Space.
Yep. It's the
Yes.
80s.
Like, you know what they say about big hands? Big gloves.
Big spacesuits.
Big space gloves.
That's right. But I will say this whole sequence is another one of those that's just burned into my brain. Tish like talking above, and then the whole monologue about
because 11-year-old Rob Malda really wanted to be in the girls' dormitory at space camp.
Would stare at the top of the bunk every night and wish Tish would lean over and say goodnight to you.
I want tuck-ins. Tuck-ins from Tish. But like I remember this is she says she has 800s on her SATs. This is the movie that taught me what the scoring parameters were for the SATs. I mean, come on, man, I'm 11.
Yeah. No, we all were like, Tish, she's the gal. She's the one.
So we struck this deal. Like, he got me to space, and I got me a Jeep. So,
Yeah, so I come here and I get a Jeep. So that's a good character motivation. And then
what are you doing here?
I want to be the first guy to have a fast food franchise in space.
okay.
Honestly, I yelled out in my little 8x10 shed here with my green screen, F this movie, F everything about it. oh, what is this horseshit?
Okay.
I was so pissed off at that
I
line.
have to step
that
in and
line
defend this.
makes no.
It's congruent with the fries monologue.
No, you've got to watch
movie.
the next 15 seconds. And there's actually a point that's being made here. He's got the silly reason that would be cool for his buddies, but what he's actually saying is he's into science. And the whole next 30 seconds is it's not cool to be into science. There's actually like a legit point being made here.
I know, but I was so busy saying screw this movie that I only caught the end of that part of his remotivation, because like they probably you know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. See how he's like on his finger here? Mm-hmm. So you can't really see his mouth when he says those things that you say, because they added that after they focus tested the movie and they focus tested it, and all the people said, you know what? This is a terrible movie. I'm never going to see it. I'm going to tell all my friends not to see it. Screw this movie. Yeah, and originally, like, well, what if we give him better motivation?
Originally, the little kid wanted to set up a lemonade stand in space too.
Yeah.
It was really all about space mercantilism.
Okay.
Which is like our favorite genre of video game.
I just want to again point out there's actually something that was just said here, and you're flicking the big bird to it. Science ain't cool to a kid in the 80s. He's got to make a dumb story up. They made a point.
That's the most the stupidest freaking story I have ever heard. If he's really into science, he wouldn't say anything like that.
It's space camp. It's a place you could be into science, for goodness sakes. If anything, Slacker Von Tate Donavon over here, you know, he's the most annoying character that is in this entire movie. Like, I just want to beat him up in front of the girls' locker room just for existing in this movie.
Oh, he definitely deserves to be beaten up in the sequence. I don't think anybody put a note in it, but where at the end he just becomes the captain because he's the white man.
Oh, and he's the rich white guy with a Jeep.
Yeah.
He was made.
They should have just named him Blaine.
She made him commander,
but he didn't want it, man. But he climbs into that role when the situation calls for it.
Oh, it's such a bad movie. This is a bad movie. Screw you, Rob Malda.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
I hate this movie.
What do we got here?
Well, I hate this movie. I hate Tate's character, and I want him to die in a rocket explosion. That's what my note was for this moment. Because like this whole scene, I hate the scene so much because I actually don't want to hate the kid, and I don't want to sympathize with the bullies, the jerks. But like at this point,
would be in the bully
robot. I want to beat up the robot. Do you know what it takes for me to want to beat up a robot?
Apparently, a 1986 kids movie.
I hate this movie. Poor Joaquin Phoenix. No wonder he changed his screen name. And that thing should be really heavy. There's no way he should be lifting that shit up.
For sure.
You know? I mean, it's got to be empty for him to lift it up. Otherwise, it'd weigh like 100 pounds. You know.
Also, there's obviously no actuation in the wheels on his feet. Like, there's some problems with the mechanical design of that.
Well, there's also
I don't think those are real optics either. I think they're just lights behind.
Yeah, exactly. Those are LEDs. Those are LEDs under fisheye lenses.
And I guess the little USB-C looking port is probably supposed to be like an ultrasonic sensor. It doesn't make any sense. Why are there lights above his eyes? Why is this on a rotating base and yet they have 3 little ultrasonic sensors? Like, it should be rotating all the time, or it should be static. And then why does it lift up and down? Right? In response to the oil comment later. This is a badly designed robot.
Who decided a sphere as the
space did?
So, Mr. Ostendorf, you must understand that the Astro Bee and the Spheres 1 and 2 robots were not anywhere near being constructed in the 80s, but their first deployable droid in the ISS was the Spheres robot, right? And but it didn't have any actuators. It was more like a padded softball, a padded basketball that had little it had a little CO2 jets that would send it around the station. So that's a real thing. The sphere, I'm on board with the sphere design, and the actuators, that could be actually pretty cool for getting it around the station. But there are a lot of mistakes in this robot.
You mean like the fact that, hold on. Max and Jinx are best friends forever.
They're married now.
Yep.
They're married. They're robot married.
Yeah, they formed a boy bot bond, and that can never be broken.
Yep, in the robot culture, this is how you get married. You profess your love in an empty lab.
Oh, the multi-axis trainer. I got a lot of problems with this scene. My favorite part is that after she finishes and cannot successfully stabilize the multi-axis trainer and then decides she wants to do it again, her whole team just leaves, and then she has to bolt herself back in and do it, which means, as far as I can tell, if she can't ever stop it, she's just there forever until someone stops her.
Okay, let's be clear about something. I think NASA, the NASA of Space Camp world, is an incredibly slack organization that isn't at all detail oriented or cares at all about the safety of its campers or its astronauts.
I think they're just the kind of organization that might make a mistake with an O-ring.
Well, but it's like, I mean, the slack approach to organization typified by Space Camp, the movie, I would not give them the keys to a rocket after seeing this. I'm shocked that PR people let them ship this dreck.
Also, you wrote in the notes F this movie like 20 times. So.
I said they should use this movie as torture in Guantanamo Bay.
Ooh.
So that was, I don't think it's.
I was off by about 10 seconds on this time code.
This
is basically where Jinx is offering him step-by-step directions around the base, and I was just like, okay, so, basically Waze was already there. NASA had it. It was clearly a little spin-off that they decided to give the internet 25 years later.
Well, you do know that Waze was an Israeli company before Google bought them, right?
I mean, the espionage of the
of the Israeli Defense Forces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well known.
I also like that the level of AI in this dumb robot and voice recognition is able to, the dialogue is something to the effect of, no, we need to find a secret route so that we don't go by the boss's house. And he's like, oh, no problem. I know what that means. So now we're at the beach where Tate Donavon and Lea Thompson go to the beach for shenanigans.
Nate?
So up until this point, this movie just simply annoyed me, right? But this dialogue between the two of them cemented it for me, like, screw this movie.
Oh.
I cannot believe that that the people who wrote this were once actual people and wrote this dialogue. It is so stupid. And it's one of my big pet peeves in movies when they have young people, especially children, they give them dialogue and it's just awful. You know what I mean?
For sure.
People this age do not talk like that. They are way smarter than this whole interaction. It really got to me. I thought, wow.
And no teenage girl of the 80s would ever compromise themselves this much just because he's good looking. They wouldn't get past it for that level of good looking.
Have you seen? He's wearing a sweater without an undershirt.
Mm-hmm. He's wearing a cable knit sweater. Yes.
Oh.
It's Eddie Bauer right there.
If Knives Out has taught me anything, it's that makes him a hunk.
Oh, he's a honk?
I don't know. I'm not really.
Yeah. So he says this line. Nate, did you want to cover the line? Because you put it in your note.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're all going to get nuked anyway. Yeah. So this was, I think, the biggest it kind of went over my kid's head, but this was, I think, the biggest culture shock that my wife and I looked at each other and were like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
It was the 80s. Nuclear war was still like the thing that was going to kill us, not global warming or the coronavirus pandemic or like,
whichever political
Donald Trump
party you don't
economic
like.
equality, Donald Trump, whatever it was. Like we were going to get nuked by the Ruskies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a little callback.
Well, I mean, so in 1982, the second Grease movie had come out, right? So 4 years before this and before they were filming it. And there's a scene in Grease 2 where a guy tries to convince a girl to sleep with him in a fallout shelter, and his friends are making like nuclear war noises outside the fallout shelter. And it's a big musical number. It's basically Date Rape, the musical number. And so this, like when they did this, it's like, how could they avoid a comparison to the Grease 2 trying to convince a girl to sleep with me because the whole world is ending, And I'm like, dude, I saw Grease 2. You can't pretend like I didn't see Grease 2.
Because it was Grease 2?
It had Michelle Pfeiffer in it. Okay.
Wow.
All right. A lot of.
I know what your movie's going to be.
I will subject you to Grease 2 at some point. Yes.
All right. I don't know that I've seen it in 10, 15 years, so I'll but I'm down for anything. I got time on my hands.
But that's not my suggested movie. I think I'm next.
So Rob, this one's you.
Yeah,
You said your piece.
About it already.
Yeah.
You have the next three notes. You have a 30-47 too. You're good.
I know. No, 30-47's important because young Leaf Phoenix says he won't crack. And I got to tell you, I think he'd crack. I don't think it'd be very hard at all to make that kid tell
Where are Kevin and Catherine?
exactly where those
If I were a
people
betting
are.
man,
I would love to try.
I would say that is a two pinches, two really good pinches, and he cracks.
I bet you I could get that kid to talk in 5 minutes.
Oh, for sure.
I could just look at him funny and he'd probably start spewing.
And then I had 31-31. I just wanted to say that it was a shame that they stopped the practice run for new members of the 190 Mile High Club.
I actually, here's I guess my question. Do you think that they filmed this scene on site, or do you think that there's a blue screen or a mat behind this? Because it's pretty good.
No, they probably just filmed it on site at Kennedy.
Because they filmed this at Huntsville and they filmed it in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I overshot.
So the question you should be asking, Rob, is that the Space Shuttle Challenger behind them? Because was this filmed before the explosion, before they had taken off, but after they had built the gantry up, or is it just the gantry? It looks like it's almost just the gantry and not a rocket. So
there's a lot of shots.
That's the question.
But some of the shots are from STS-08, and then
the
a lot
landing.
of the shots are from. I mean, there's a ton of stuff of what is probably just a model of Atlantis.
Well, yeah, and they used the actual space camp mock-up in Huntsville for a lot of their scenes. So,
all right, well, this is this is you, Chris.
Nobody cares about space camp more than I do.
Listen, this is man. I just hated the language, the writing so much, and all I said is this was awful and predictable even in 1986. How do you screw up the writing this badly? It was written by like a cliche generator, and I hated the scene. I hated everything about it, and I hated everything with this stupid robot talking to the other stupid robot. I hate this movie, Rob Malda.
This I actually kind of wanted to figure out the mechanics of. Like, he's obviously got some early protocol wireless networking. Also, there's some parts where I feel like he's a Pokemon evolving into his final form here.
Yeah. So as angry as the previous dialogue made me, when this happened, I thought, finally, Jinx is part of some deep sleeper cell. He's distracted everyone with the teenagers and sending them all about the place, and finally he is going to blow everything up. Thank God, and put it into this movie. Jinx is my hero, but then
He's going to kill them all.
That's not what happens.
See,
not what happened.
I got a whole Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Batteries Not Included vibe out of all this, and I kind of loved it.
Yep. Little short dash of Short Circuit.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, I'd say so.
I'm waiting to see who's gonna pick that one.
Not I, number 5.
All right. Well, I think we're going to 38. Oh, we have a computer screen. The fonts are legit. That's actually like I always appreciate when you have appropriate.
They filmed
fonts.
it at Huntsville. Yeah. You know, they filmed it at Kennedy.
So, all right. Now we're in the simulator, and there's a lot about the simulator that I found very amusing. Like, for example, the fact that like some of the kids get to be in the cockpit and some of the kids have to be outside of the cockpit, and that kind of sucks. You go to space camp to only get to be mission control.
It's like the bridge of Star Trek.
Also, I like how all of our core cast has made general modifications to their presumably handed out free T-shirts. You know, Tish has tore off the midriff. You know, Rudy has torn off his sleeves. They're making it their own. I appreciate that. I have a very strong problem with everything that Rudy is doing here. I can't fathom what part of spaceship training involves hot wiring a space shuttle.
Or a simulator. I mean, honestly.
Yeah. No,
I hate this movie.
Yeah.
I need a counter for that.
Rudy knows you just cross the wires, it starts right back up. That's how you get it working again.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?
Like, I can't remember ever being this stupid as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, ever.
Yeah.
Right now, but if you'd like to leave your name and number at the tone, she'd be glad to get back to you.
You're coming up on Interface, Atlantis.
So,
and also, can I just point out a woman who's supposedly aware of her femininity and its impact on the astronaut training process and how unlikely it is to let her become an astronaut during this time where it was only dudes mostly. She is wearing incredibly informal clothes for an astronaut at space camp. You know, like, dude, really? No.
It's hot in Alabama.
It's not how this works.
So go a little further, but there's some scenes with the simulator crash that I just vividly remember as a child. Like, I remember the wisecracking.
Yeah.
You know, oh, we're dead. Oh, brr, brr, brr.
In the red zone.
Yeah. No, I remember thinking, oh, that's hilarious. Yep. He's not taking that simulator seriously.
So the discussion that Kat and I were having over Tate Donavon in particular in this movie is we decided that he is Val Kilmer in Top Secret, but without whatever X factor it is that makes Val Kilmer a superstar. Like that likable charisma, he has none of it. They like are trying to create a character like that, but no.
I have to admit, if it were Val Kilmer doing that scene, it would be much better.
Totally,
it would work. It would have totally worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
You put a real genius era Val Kilmer in this movie, and you actually like this character, and that's the thing. It's just kind of miscast.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Where are we at here? 41:55.
Okay, so the thing, when I was watching this, and because we have these questions about why would they put astronauts in charge of as counselors and space camp and all the rest, and so I came to the decision that, you know what, they're not astronauts. They're sadly deluded, mentally disabled people who think that they were astronauts, and NASA just sort of has a program to help out the disabled, which is really sweet of NASA. And so, and I realized that. Like so
awesome idea.
If you hit play for like 2 seconds, Jinx gets out of the way. This is running too long. I'm sorry.
Is that what you wanted?
Okay, go. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to go back. No, the one I wanted to see, it was literally at like 41:54 or something. Okay, great. I hit. There you go. So, right. Okay, I guess I missed the timestamp. Just hit pause. I don't want to get you the copyright strike. But basically, the guy from Contact, Tom Skerritt, he was posting things in the notice board, and I'm like, oh, he's the guy that NASA took sympathy on and gave like a really basic job. His job is to post things on the notice board. Isn't that, NASA? They're good people.
It's like those hotels.
They try to find opportunities for people who need jobs and can't really get normal jobs.
It's like those hospitals for dementia patients where like they have all the doors to look like fake storefronts.
Towns.
Yeah.
They have towns like that too.
And that explains what Kate Capshaw and Tom Skerritt are doing. They're just the hangers-on that we took sympathy on, and so we put them in the movie.
Having not seen this movie before, it became. I mean, you can absolutely figure out what is going to happen, right? At the very beginning of this movie, these freaking kids are going to end up in space somehow. You just don't know how.
It's on the movie.
41 minutes and 55 seconds to finally have the payoff to be like, oh, the robot's going to send them into space.
Yep.
Terrific.
Love it. Thermal curtain failure.
Yep, thermal curtain failure. I like the
That was a nice thing, That was a way.
Yep, the graphics here, like the Commodore 64 level. I mean, realistic graphics.
You guys can keep dogging on it, but the production design, even up to and including Jinx, you're all in the right space. Jinx is the reach. He's silly.
It's the reach, but no, I completely agree with you. The production design, the special effects, the sets, they put a huge amount of really high quality work into it, and then they gave them this script. And like there are a couple, like the set piece that's coming up when they're on the rocket and all the stuff happens, that is a solid, suspenseful, good scene. Very well executed. Absolutely.
That is why this movie is so hard to lampoon and wouldn't make a very good MST3K, right? Because everything about it is good except for the writing. The writing's just awful,
The dialogue.
There's nothing else.
The writing, the story.
There's nothing else in this movie that is nearly as bad as the writing.
The writing's really bad. I mean, they have talented, good-looking actors who are kind of at the center peak of their career that they got in this thing. I mean, definitely
Lea true
Thompson,
for
Joker.
Yeah.
It's only downhill for
they
Joker.
recognized the genius of Joaquin Phillips when he was an idiot kid. I mean, this is actually what's offensive about this movie is they had all this and look what they did with it.
I meant to be drinking every time a pair of Chuck Taylor's All-Stars showed up on the screen. There's actually a lot of them. But I realize now we've been recording now for like 40 minutes and I haven't been drinking, which seems like an oversight on my part.
An outrage.
An outrage. You do need a little booze to get through this movie for sure.
Yeah, you do.
So we're about to get,
for sure.
We had the poster shot, which is them walking
slow-mo
on the platform.
The right stuff shot.
The right stuff shot. Exactly.
Yep. And we got Locke from Lost.
We got Locke from Lost. We've got, they had the people to make a great movie. This is a wonderful scene. I love the tension of the scene. Even today, it was really well done.
I actually,
I'm like, dude.
While I was watching the scene with Kat, like I was like, I'm actually getting like, there's several space shuttle scenes where I still, as a grown man, get shivers. But that's just, that's 11-year-old me time traveling to present day. And I kind of love that.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. But let's be real. They would never allow kids within 5 miles of a live rocket test. Ooh. There's no way.
They're crazy about it down there.
They're not crazy. They're smart because, if you're a person standing, a mile from a rocket taking off, you're dead. just from the sound waves destroying you. I mean, like serious injury even further away. That's why when you were standing on the beach, you were what, 10 miles away from the pad?
Yeah, like 4 or 5. It's a ways.
I mean, you're across the inlet. I mean, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude.
No, and
Dude.
when that thing goes up, it is like you are punched in the chest. Not like somebody hitting you with their full might, but you feel it. Feel it. Well, you don't feel it, but you certainly kind of feel it, and you hear it, and it shakes the windows at Orlando Airport, 200 plus miles away. I mean, this is no fooling around. You're not just going to have Max, Jinx's friend, hanging out on the damn rocket. It's so stupid. But come on.
This is great.
I love it. I love that so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole lot of implausibility here. I will say, okay, I feel like part of the premise here is, as you guys know, the idea behind the space shuttle is that we would get to the point where one of those things is going up like once a week. And I think that if when you're plotting and scripting a movie like this, let's say 1983, 84, and you're looking at this thinking, okay, well, maybe the shuttles are going to be going up, once a week. If shuttles are launching once a week, then okay, maybe they let a kid somewhere, because that implies like this whole cascading series of security precautions and experiences. I mean, I know it's Looney Tunes, but I think that's the thinking.
You're not wrong, Rob. I mean, because remember, when they were filming this, when they were doing all their initial editing, the assumption was a school teacher was going up.
Yeah.
And then this movie was going to come out. Right? It's like, you're not wrong. People really wanted this to be a successful space program. And what they got instead was a space shuttle. So.
Right. It's going to cost $1 billion every time. It's going to make a lot of sense. Okay. I don't know if you guys are going to hear this, but let's see if we can hear this bit here. There's like a sound of going to space, and you can't. I don't know if that clearly comes, but there's like a suctiony, metallic-y noise as the sky just turns blue, goes from blue to black instantly. Like,
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. There's a doozy. Let's see if I got the time code right. All right. Okay, Leaf Phoenix just asked, is that Earth?
Is that Earth? 2 years at junior space camp, IQ of 180. Is that Earth?
I think he's got his hand on Kelly Preston's butt. I think that's the joke.
Yeah.
No, that would mean
they're all kind of in a teenage love pile there. That's for sure.
If he has his hand on Kelly Preston's butt, he should be asking if that's the moon.
You're absolutely right.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, the other thing I wrote for this was about a third of people who go to space basically get incredibly sick and start vomiting prodigiously. And remember, they didn't know they were going to space, so they probably had a big breakfast. So these kids would just be like, there'd be hork everywhere, right?
It's also,
and then they're gonna have to go to the bathroom like boom boom soon. And that was before I realized there was a bathroom scene coming up that I freaking hated.
Yeah, we'll get there. It's also worth pointing out that every time they show like a curvature of the Earth shot, the sun is either rising or setting. And given that they were in space only for like 12 hours, it seems a little bit implausible to me that every time they look out, the sun is rising or setting. I suspect maybe they only made one shot and then like flipped it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right. But doesn't the Terminator cross every 45 minutes? So they would have an hour and a half into 12.
Orbits are.
They'd have 9 chances to that.
Like every 2 hours, right? Isn't that an orbit right now? I don't know what a shuttle orbit looks like.
No.
It's slower than 45 minutes, isn't it?
But that might be when you get the Terminator between night and day.
That's true. I guess you get to see it twice.
So immediately after this, there's a dialogue that I found ridiculous.
All right.
90 minutes for a full orbit.
There you go.
Candy, I want to go home.
Was that it, Nate?
No.
Wasn't it supposed to be a safety?
How did this happen? It's not important how it happened.
It's not important how it happened. Wait. Oh, hold on.
Yes.
It's extremely important how this happened. This is a massive failure of any sort of oversight.
Yeah.
This is how you know
I feel
she's not
for
really an
future-
astronaut.
For future generations or for future classes, it's probably pretty important that we figure out how this doesn't happen again, right?
But I guess to be fair, none of these kids had anything to do with why it happened. I guess that's not true. Leaf asked the robot.
Exactly.
So it's his fault.
Yes, it's always the kids.
So I am always happy when a movie has the decency to give the audience a literal ticking clock to just, keep you locked in on how much left you got in your movie. I always like that. It's like, oh, okay, cool, 11:57. I'm sure that clock will be shown to me repeatedly to, show escalating stakes.
And do you feel delivered on that promise?
Well, I know
Well,
you. I know how you feel.
Bathroom scene in about 2 minutes.
I hate this bathroom scene. I'm so embarrassed for everyone involved.
Terrible.
It's horrific. It's
Like-
just
Everything about this is creepy. Like the idea, this is what I was saying to Kat too, the idea that it's just sitting there sucking. Like nobody's touching it, it's just sucking because the sound effects guy just has sucking noises.
Sorry, 12-year-old dude, you got to put a vacuum cleaner on your penis. Like that is what the message of this scene is.
Yeah.
It's vile.
Super
Right.
And can I also say,
Then
I
the-
think Tate Donovan's character is a little too enthusiastic. Do you want me to show you? Do you want me to be in there with you? It's like, no, you're super creeping me out at this point. Can you just get the hell out?
Then-
Close the damn door.
Then the rest of the movie is just trying to convince Leaf to get out of there. Right? No, I got to go to the bathroom again.
Gotta go to the bathroom again. I know we're gonna die in 3 minutes. Gotta go to the bathroom again.
So this is the scene where they visit the Daedalus space station, which okay.
It was set up on the poster board. There's signs telling you about the Daedalus.
I know. It was super cool. They had that poster that presaged this. But like, where I'd seen Armageddon recently with my son, I was like, we have to watch the stupidest movie ever filmed, and that was Armageddon. And the wacky space station Russian guy played by Peter Stormare, that is my index. Let's stop off for fuel or oxygen or supplies in low Earth orbit.
We need widgets.
Scene. It's such a good scene. It's so funny, and then instead we got this.
Well, Rob has heard me wax poetic on this subject many times, but I strongly feel that Armageddon is one of the best movies ever made. It's just like the perfect execution of the 90s disaster movie.
It is the platonically perfect movie about asteroids, and it's ridiculously bad. It laps itself and becomes amazing.
That is a movie to me that is absolutely stupid, right? Completely ridiculous. However, there are scenes in that movie and little bits of writing that are hilarious. I love when they introduce the oil rig drillers. It's just fantastic, right?
He's using his golf clubs to throw a golf ball at a Greenpeace ship.
Yeah.
Like, how you don't forget a scene like that, I mean, it's got more style and execution in that one 30-second scene where they show him go flop. They make the cute sound of it hitting the side of a boat, and you said the Greenpeace guys go like this, and you're like, wow, they put a lot into this throwaway crappy intro scene. And they had it filmed by a helicopter with the boom arm. I'm like, wow, it's all on the screen. Anyway, as opposed to this.
Maybe it wasn't hours, but it sure was a long time. Rudy? That was when
All right, I'm gonna cut it because I don't want to get us struck again.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of monologue in there.
Yeah. No, this is a monologue about Rudy has a monologue about a kid who can hold his breath for hours thinking about French fries.
Yep.
And the thing that I like about it is that it's just like a little bit honest about the completely ridiculous things that people say when they think they're in trouble or they think they're like gonna die or whatever. Like complete horseshit comes out of their mouths, and that's what I liked about that scene.
Now, this is where the movie truly goes off the science rails. They manage to get to the Daedalus. You know, they manage to get the kid to the Daedalus.
Somehow, the 2 like 30-liter oxygen tanks have been placed inside the structure in a way that no human can access them.
In this scene where they're like, you know, all right, break out the belts. We gotta.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the other
The
thing,
orange space straps.
if you look at how, like, try to figure out, like, when, I don't know if we can get a shot where the kid is fully in frame, but how long is that belt? Like, that belt is like 30 feet long.
Yeah.
No, it's a space strap. It's, you know, it's super strappy.
Nobody's actually mentioned the fact that that Max, basically every third line of dialogue is a crappy Star Wars reference. Like the laziest.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Like when I looked this up because I thought there's no way that NASA marketing department didn't have a big hand in making this movie, right? I figured they sprung some money in that, and then they paid off, Lucas, and so that they could have some Star Wars references, and then they looked at their board of all the things that make a movie, and they were all checked, and they shipped this, and that's what happened.
Boy robot romance scene, awkward bathroom scene, check.
Indiana Jones girlfriend.
Let's have bad boy who's not interested in science, who will later be turned into a good guy by the love of a smart girl, check.
The Canada.
You know what's funny about this?
Ditzy girl.
Y'all are, I can
Ditzy
tell
girl's actually smart, check.
Yeah. Like this is the part where you 3 gave up on life because like you make it to a little bit past this and then you're out. There's no more notes.
Yep.
I could tell y'all were like contemplating suicide for having to continue watching this. And so,
dude, my last note was at 50 minutes. I gave up 20 minutes ago.
I can tell when you guys hate a movie because this is what happens.
Totally.
I'll go through because I usually don't get to them until like Monday or whatever, or today. And I'm like, how am I the first person to write it 1 hour and 5 minutes in? You know?
Yep. Well, you're not wrong. Although I will say that my problem is that basically from the moment that they get into space, every single thing that happens is so technically inaccurate that it sets off all of my little nerd, like, well, actually, things. Like, Kathleen made me shut up because I was like bitching about all the problems.
It was one of the things when I was reading about this on Wikipedia, how many people said this inspired them into science. It was one of the things that dumbfounded me because there's no science in this movie. Once they get it, there's very little science when they're on Earth, but when they get into space.
Listen. So Rob, the thing you have to realize about that Wikipedia entry is it was from the people who did the Deepwater Horizon. You know, it's like they inspired people to get into science who should not be in science.
What I was actually going to say is that, Rob, what you don't understand is I'm the one that wrote that Wikipedia entry.
Oh, no.
Well, that would explain why one of the movie reviews is from the Kalamazoo Gazette.
I mean, I'm, fully plugged in the West Michigan movie review scene.
Hey, Gazetteers! All right!
Did we want to do anything? Somebody had this. Is there anything particular we're looking for at the oxygen hookup?
I don't know who did this.
Everything about this is horrible.
I think this is you, Rob. I mean,
Oh no, it's one of my time codes, and I couldn't think of a good line for it. I just thought, like, oh God, here we go through sort of serial problems that, like, we're just gonna keep getting like, oh well, oh no, they can't hang it up. Oh, and she hits her head, and oh, like, over and over again.
I mean, that's the thing, is that basically the last half hour of this movie is just minor obstacle, overcome minor obstacle, add new complication for 30 minutes. I mean, I think, Chris, that's why nobody has a lot of notes. The last 30 minutes of this movie are just that.
I would say that, though, so there's this thing, the movie called The Crimson Tide. Do you remember this?
The Crimson Permanent Assurance.
Where it's Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide?
They call Alabama the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I'm not talking. So no, it's the submarine movie with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman.
Oh yeah,
and they're taking over the ship from each other throughout the entire movie. Yeah. So I call these blocks the Crimson Tide blocks. I don't know if that was the name of the movie, but I call it that because it's just them basically. No, I'm going to make a decision. No, I'm going to make a decision. No, you're making the wrong decision. The right decision is blah. No, I'm going to listen to the other person's decision. And I'm like, oh God, you people are so freaking tiring. It's like, I want them all to die in space, you know?
Sadly, they all pretended to survive.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one was one of mine because I was the only one who did any notes at this point. Okay. And I said, showing she can't make the hard decision needs slacker, fancy shit Tate Donavon to be in charge when no matter what, they'd all have been dead well earlier.
Sure.
So. Yeah,
but again, this is the cliche. The white man has to step into the shoes that clearly he is destined to fulfill by his birthright. That's just the 80s cliche.
Yeah, and then I said I feel bad for Lea Thompson being given this script. What a pile of crap.
Poor girl.
Oh, this is so crappy.
Oh. Yeah, there's a lot of problems here.
Okay, so the great thing about this scene,
word-wrapped all the words. Now I can't find my spot.
I'm sorry, it's 1:28:58. All unword.
Whatever.
Okay,
I got it.
Okay, well, the reason I picked this very specific time code is like, so we have a floating arm, we have her hair falling back to the left, Andy's hair floating back to the left. We have Tate Donavon in the weirdest position.
Yep.
Like, which way is microgravity working? And then you have Lea Thompson, and she's got something in her mouth, it looks like. I don't know. Anyway, long and short of it is, it's all weird.
Yeah.
And it's like gravity can't decide if it's going down, like to the left of Tate Donovan's hair, or if it's just being fluffy. And then, like her hair must be super pinned or hairsprayed to not fall this.
For sure.
Gravity was all screwed up. Like they didn't know what they were doing here.
See, now I'm going to contest that. I think they put an honest effort into a lot of these scenes. They shoot the cameras at weird angles. They're trying to give you, and the actors are like leaning in slowly. They did as good of a job as you do without being an Apollo 13. Let's go up in the vomit comet, 100 times. I mean, they did fine. They're a bunch of kids making a movie in 1986.
You're absolutely right. But I just remember the scene. I was watching. I was going, "Wow, which way is up? Which way is down? Sure. It should be microgravity." So, I give it to you. But
we had the same discussion actually on the fly. We were trying to figure out, like, when he crawls on the ceiling and down the walls, like, is it a rotating set? Clearly, this is not a rotating set. Clearly, this is just them in a room leaning.
Yeah, exactly. And why doesn't she have her patch on? Why did she take her name patch off?
Ooh, good question.
None of them do. I guess it's just a holder patch.
They don't get their
probably
patches
embarrassed.
until they land.
They're probably embarrassed. Yeah, that's
they're ashamed.
About the shuttle landing in White Plains or something. White Plains, Rudy, come on. It's in the middle of New York.
White Plains.
Yeah. So I wrote down, luckily NASA has these kids to figure out alternative landing sites.
Yep. Thanks. I mean, Okay, so they set up in the movie that the radio, they don't have radio control, but they have every other control, which, if my understanding of the space shuttle is correct, then they can just have a dude on the ground just do all of this.
Well, I mean, that's what they end up doing, and later they let NASA give them their orders, as it were, and then he shuts it off to save Andy. Remember, so they were getting orders from NASA, but they shut that off, and thus tension was delivered. And then Rudy figured out that White Sands was the alternative landing site.
Friends forever.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Terry O'Quinn speaks for all of us.
Couldn't put it any better, sir.
Yep. Now go back in the bunker and type that code in a bunch.
Yeah, right. No, I ended up just saying, melt this robot down. You know, nope, I'm done. So.
Oh wait, he was right. Yay!
Well, it's nice that they let the mentally challenged kid stay in mission control. You know, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I would say good thing they had the robot there to point out that there's a light flashing over and over again for the past 10 minutes.
It normally does that. Why would you pay attention
What
to
a
red light?
What a
I'm sorry.
pile of
If I
garbage.
worked at NASA at this time, I would feel so insulted. Like I would find whoever in NASA PR was supposed to shadow this thing and saying, "Do you know how stupid this makes us look?"
So what you're
You
saying,
idiots.
Chris, is that you felt exactly the same way as you felt when Owen Wilson made that movie about being hired at Google.
So I'm happy to review the internship with the August, company on this call. But I want to be clear. There were some great things about the internship, but I hated that movie. Facebook got Fincher and 9 Inch Atticus Ross for the
you got Vince
soundtrack.
Vaughn.
We got Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn.
Wow.
That's insulting, man.
So
It's just insulting.
As far as the guys, the flashing red light, I did like that when they have the overhead shots of Mission Control. Every single chair is occupied except for the one chair with the flashing red light. It's like, all right, cool.
So dumb. That guy was in the bathroom. So what I said, what I noted for this end title note is that at no point were their parents alerted or brought on site. It's like, so Nate, your kid is at space camp. He ends up on a live fire exercise and is sent to space. Are you and Ray just like, it'll be fine?
I tell you, I'm fine if I find that out at the end of the week. My main concern is not with the kids while they're at space camp.
Did anyone know that they were on this? I can't remember if it was ever mentioned that anyone knew that the kids were on the space shuttle, to be honest.
It's only
with you.
12 hours. I mean, come on. Who would figure
Keep
that
it
out?
hush until they run out of oxygen. Then we'll announce it.
Well, they had that one scene where they said, clear these people out of the gallery or whatever, right? So they had this throwaway line that I guess is their ass covering, and they're like, well, if they die, we'll maybe tell the parents, It's like,
Can you imagine getting that call though? You don't really need to panic yet. However,
I wouldn't hurry to hunt.
Little Jimmy's in orbit right now.
Then it would be like a Catherine O'Hara mug to the camera thing where she has to go on a truck ride with John Candy.
Kevin!
Rudy! Max!
Yeah.
So that's
well, that was it. We got through space camp, huh? Thank God.
Yep.
I don't know that there's any movie. I mean, maybe Short Circuit is worse, but I don't know that there's any movie from my childhood that is, awkward in this way.
I hate this movie.
It's pretty awkward.
Yeah.
But you know what?
I know it's not my pick next, but one thing is this movie did solidify which one I'm going to pick next.
Oh, you're gonna
for
hurt
sure.
me, aren't you?
What are you gonna do?
No, not at
No,
all.
I want to hear it. I
No,
want to prepare myself.
He's got to
Be out of
wait.
town.
Is it
your-
Nate or
Oh
Chris?
no, it's
your
good.
turn, Chris.
It's your turn, Chris.
Okay,
And
so
then
I would
Nate,
like
I think I
us
got
to
2 movies
watch.
before I choose.
So I was trying to decide between the Philadelphia Story and the Final Countdown. Both 80s movies. The Final Countdown's serious, good, solid time travel movie, Mr. Malda. And Philadelphia Experiment is too. But it's not actually good. So I'm going to go with the Final Countdown because I love the movie. I've seen it a million times. So
At any point in the movie, does Europe play?
I was going to say.
So
the
it
title
doesn't.
song
It was
by Europe?
before the Final Countdown song was in 1986. So this movie came out 6 years before the song. So it's the Final Countdown.
Really?
But yeah. So, but I have to admit, there you go, and.
Oh,
It's
no.
the copyright strike song, yes. But yeah, so the Final Countdown, it's got incredible actors. It's got Kirk Douglas. It's got Martin Sheen.
Martin.
You know,
You mean the president?
honestly, I don't want to say anything
Yeah.
more about. Yeah, the president.
President Bartlett.
Bartlett, and it's got James Ferrantino. So if you're old school Hollywood, you're like, oh, really? Shit. It's so
All right, I'm
check
all
it
in.
out. And I don't want to say anything else about it. And let y'all learn.
Well, I'm excited.
Lloyd Kaufman, dudes.
Whoa.
Does it have Ernest Borgnine? That's my question. I don't remember if
Ooh.
it has Ernest Borgnine or not. So
I mean, if it doesn't,
I
it
don't think
should.
so.
Well, folks,
I mean, it really should.
we should say goodbye to Jake and Elon. Let's say goodbye to Chris DeBona,
Goodbye.
Nate Ostendorp.
I remember my first robot lover.
Rob, I have to say goodbye to you, but with a special apology because I know this hurt you more than anyone.
This was a rough one, man. This was a rough one.
Sorry. All right. Well, I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda. This has been episode 493 of Geeks in Space. I hope you enjoyed Space Camp. We'll see you next week for Final Countdown. It's going to be epic.